This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. For the very first time in over 2 years, Robert Mueller addressed the American people in a public statement to the free press concerning the Office of the Special Counsel's investigation that he led into Russia's interference in the 2016 presidential election, which also, because of the criminal proclivities of Donald Trump, ended up developing into a wide-ranging obstruction of justice probe into our president. He read from a prepared statement for roughly 9.5 minutes, and there are a couple of main points that he made which I think are worth further attention. First, let's reiterate that given the opportunity to tell the world that his report cleared Donald Trump of any wrongdoing, he didn't, which is tangentially related to my second point, bringing me to the final moments of his remarks when he indicated that he doesn't want to speak publicly about this matter again. He doesn't want to testify before Congress, that nothing new would come from it, and that the contents of the final Mueller report speak for themselves and ultimately are his testimony.
Now, I hope and expect this to be the only time that I will speak to you in this manner. I am making that decision myself. No one has told me whether I can or should testify or speak further about this matter. There has been discussion about an appearance before Congress. Any testimony from this office would not go beyond our report. It contains our findings and analysis and the reasons for the decisions we made. We chose those words carefully, and the work speaks for itself. And the report is my testimony. I would not provide information beyond that which is already public in any appearance before Congress.
Listen, I thank Robert Mueller for his selfless and often thankless service. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Robert Mueller. He has dutifully served his country for the entirety of his long life. And also, we're both United States Marines, and to me, that's a special bond. But more immediately, he has conducted himself related to this entire Trump investigation with the utmost honor and integrity and respectability. In the face of constant personal attacks from disgusting Donald Trump and the bootlicking brown-nosers who fawn for his approval, there hasn't been a single leak to the press from him or his team. And for a town and culture like Washington, D.C., that's about as close to miraculous as it gets. But having said all that, I must respectfully say, I don't care that he doesn't want to testify. This is bigger than any one individual. This is about the literal existential threat that we are facing in this nation. And further, it isn't up to Robert Mueller to choose what he will or won't testify about if he's subpoenaed by Congress. You see, a subpoena is an order to compel an individual to give testimony on a particular subject matter. If he appears before Congress under subpoena, he will be required by law to answer their questions, except when the answers he might give would possibly incriminate him, thus allowing him to assert his rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution and remain silent. But the Fifth Amendment doesn't allow you to remain silent in the event that your testimony would incriminate somebody else. Also, there are lots of questions that need answered outside of the specific contents of the almost 450-page Mueller report. For instance, I've talked several times about the tough position Robert Mueller was in related to taking legal action against Donald Trump. I explained that because Robert Mueller was merely a lawyer within the Justice Department, he was bound by the DOJ's ridiculous Office of Legal Counsel policy about being unable to prosecute a sitting president. A policy which specifically states, quote, the indictment or criminal prosecution of a sitting president would impermissibly undermine the capacity of the executive branch to perform its constitutionally assigned functions in violation of the constitutional separation of powers. Or, in other words, the Department of Justice policy currently states that even if the President of the United States were to beat Sarah Huckabee Sanders to death with a baseball bat in the White House briefing room on national TV, he would absolutely not be prosecuted until maybe when he's out of office. Again, that's not the law, that's the current policy of the Department of Justice. So I would like to know from Robert Mueller about the specifics of the conversations he had with Attorney General Bill Barr concerning his charging decisions. Because Bill Barr says one thing, and just yesterday, Robert Mueller said something entirely different. Watch Bill Barr characterize Robert Mueller's decisions not to charge Donald Trump as completely unrelated to the Office of Legal Counsel's policy that I just talked about.
On March 5th, we specifically asked him about the OLC opinion and whether or not he was taking the position that he would have found a crime but for the existence of the OLC opinion. And he made it very clear several times that that was not his position. He was not saying that but for the OLC opinion he would have found a crime. He made it clear that he had not made the determination that there was a crime.
That's very interesting and raises a bunch of questions that need to be answered. Watch Robert Mueller indicate the exact opposite yesterday.
If we had had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so. We did not, however, make a determination as to whether the president did commit a crime. The introduction to the Volume 2 of our report explains that decision. It explains that under long-standing department policy, a president cannot be charged with a federal crime while he is in office. The special counsel's office is part of the Department of Justice, and by regulation, it was bound by that department policy. Charging the president with a crime was therefore not an option we could consider.
There's an exhaustive list of lies and questionable things that have come out of that hole under Bill Barr's nose. And Robert Mueller may be the one person to shed light upon them. So don't get caught up in the 24-hour news cycle nonsense of Mueller not having to testify because he doesn't want to. It's not up to him. And now that he's no longer an employee of the Department of Justice and is a private citizen, it's not up to Donald Trump or Bill Barr either. So if I were a betting man, I would say that the odds are good that we will see and hear testimony from Robert Mueller, which ultimately will not be a good day for Donald Trump.